We begin week 26 of the USL League One season here in Greenville, South Carolina. The Triumph, fresh off of 4 goals against Tucson last week, hosting Toronto FC2, a side trying to cling to their playoff hopes as they head on down to the upstate. I'm Chris McCovic, alongside me, Ross Davenport, as we look on over Legacy Early College. We're down to the final stretch, Ross, the final 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, we are in Greenville's finding form at the right time. 5 wins in their last 8 games. They do have a quick turnaround, though, coming on Tuesday with a road trip at Tucson. So 3 points here could be critical to maintain that 3rd spot.
And Greenville, Gomez the hat trick, and of course 4 goals total against Tucson last week after those key injuries to 2 members of the starting 11 this season. They were riding high against Tucson.
Yeah, you see Aaron Walker here scoring. He picked up the slack on the offensive side of things earlier this season, and obviously Carlos Gomez with the hat trick last week, but they've only scored more than 1 goal at home. Obviously, the last week and then the last time before that was back in early April, their first home game of the season.
Yeah, we'll see if they can keep the offense going. The key has been the defense at home this season with 7 clean sheets here at Legacy Early College. So we'll see if they can continue things on the offensive front as we move into tonight's match against Toronto FC2. For Toronto on the other side, the key is Perusa, and he's really the known commodity at the top. 12 goals for him this season.
Yeah, Jordan Perusa, one of the most impressive strikers in League One this season, the most consistent. He's only gone more than 2 starts without a goal twice this year, and knows how to finish inside that 18-yard box.
Yeah, a player very similar to Jake Keegan for Greenville this season, can do it in so many ways. You see him on the set piece here, putting one on by the Richmond Kickers earlier this season, and someone you always have to keep your eye on, and someone John Hart's even highlighted to us this week, and certainly he will be a tough task to mark and match for the 2 center backs out there for Greenville on his runs into the back. Coming up, the Greenville Triumph trying to keep their great run going. 26 points in their last 12 matches. They meet Toronto today. Can the Cinderella hopes survive here for TFC2?
Join Finn's Top Wash Club for unlimited monthly washes at one low price. Finn's Car Wash, proudly created by AAA.
Play will continue. Keegan back across, it's in! Greenville on the board at home, it's 1-1.
So with all the games and the trainings that we have in this lovely South Carolina weather, recovery is obviously very important for us in order to be able to perform on the weekends. And we do a lot of different things as players in order to recover properly. A big thing that we do is we go to Upstate Spine and Sport with Dr. J and his assistants, and they do a great job for us. They do some chiro work, they do some cupping, they'll do stretching, they'll do massage, they'll do a lot of different things for us, and we go there Tuesday every week, and additionally if we need it before the game. And I think it's great for us in order to kind of get through the week of training, because it can be difficult. We push ourselves hard, and then to be rested and ready to go by the weekend.
It's only fitting that a city that has so successfully triumphed has a team that honors that.
Welcome back here into Legacy Early College. Greenville Triumph and TFC2 getting set to go at it here from Greenville, South Carolina. Again, I'm Chris McCovic, alongside me, Ross Davenport. Hispanic Heritage Night as well here for the Triumph. So, and tune in here today. You will hear 2 PA announcers, pretty cool here. One in Spanish as well as the English one.
That's awesome. Yeah, Greenville well represented on the Hispanic side of things. Carlos Gomez, born in Spain, and Miguel Uribe from Colombia. Chris Bermudez also has some Mexican and Colombian heritage.
As we get set now for our lineup, starting 11 for Greenville. Not really any changes out there. Polak returns from that yellow card accumulation suspension.
Yep, Don Boland makes way for the captain, and we'll continue to see Cam Saul and JJ Donnelly up top for the Triumph.
Yeah, and John Hart's telling us this week that really it was more of a hybrid 4-4-2, wingers moving around a bit, so keep an eye out for the formation out there for the Triumph as they try to tweak things with some of those losses down the line.
Yeah, John Harks is known for his tweaking, and he's not afraid to move Chris Bermudez from one side to the other. And we'll see Carlos Gomez perhaps roam around quite a bit behind those front 2.
Yeah, Kevin Politz as well. Good to see him out there after we heard he was dealing with a bit of a knock in training this week, but he is full on, ready to go here tonight. TFC2 making their journey down to the upstate, a pretty typical lineup out there as they enter tonight's action.
Yep, Caleb Patterson-Sewell gets a rare starting goal, and even rarer is seeing Ralph Priso in lineup. Only his second start of the season for the 17-year-old and third appearance.
Patterson-Sewell in there as Klonowski has been the featured goalkeeper for the last few matches, the last stretch, but Patterson-Sewell getting some minutes out there as he prepares to contribute with the Major League Soccer side for TFC2. Here's our standings entering week 26 here in USL League One. And for the first time, Ross, we can look at this and say there's something maybe brewing, and it's called space in between teams on the table.
Yeah, Greenville, I know they moved these games to Friday nights because of obviously Clemson, the Clemson impact on Saturdays, but having that extra 3 points tonight will put them 7 points above the playoff line, and obviously some favorable results tomorrow could put them even one closer step to the playoffs.
Yeah, 3 points today really increases the gap, not only above Clemente, Chattanooga, FC Tucson, but above Madison, trying to solidify on this third spot and still maybe cause some stress for Lansing as they enter their match this weekend. They'll be playing tomorrow.
Yeah, 3 points wouldn't be critical, I would say, for Greenville tonight, but it would be a massive boost because they do have a really long trip on Tuesday out to Tucson and then back home again next Friday night against Orlando City, who are obviously just looking to play spoiler at this point.
In recent home matches, we've dealt with some rain. Last week, of course, if you were tuning in with us on ESPN Plus, long rain, weather delay, I should say, about 2 hours. We were dealing with the lightning in the area. But at this point, beautiful night. Couldn't ask for a better one here in the upstate.
No doubt. So we'll see Greenville in the green tonight, Toronto in white.
Alyssa Nichols will oversee things here at Legacy Early College. One familiar face here throughout the USL League One season as we get set to kick things off. TFC2, of course, coming into this one, maybe a bit of revenge here, trying to go against the Triumph. Triumph had 2 matches at Toronto in a 3-week period, a hefty, really, 3-1 result in favor of the Triumph. 3 goals in the first 35 minutes. The first meeting. Second meeting, more locked down. John Hark's telling us that really TFC, it looked like, came out in the block looking to not make any mistakes. And even Rabaska told us that this week. Michael Rabaska, there he is, head coach of TFC2. The main issue this season has been the mistakes of the youngsters out there in his squad, and he's really looking to remedy those down the final few matches.
Yeah, this is a learning process for these teenagers. Half the outfield players tonight for Toronto will be in the teenage years, and youngsters do make mistakes. They've given up a penalty in each of their last 3 games. There's John Hark's there.
John Hark's, of course, leading the Triumph this season. What a run they have been on in their last 12. 7 wins, a total of 26 points. They've played 24 matches, so the first 12 matches, they were up at about 11 points on the season. So really a great second half run for his squad. He said it would be coming down the line, and eventually it did, and the goals are falling, but that's just a question. Can they keep the consistency, or was that just an outlier, 4-0 against Tucson? Yeah,
we'll see. I mean, the luck really wasn't going their way earlier in the season, but over the whole span of the season, luck's going to balance itself, and it really has for Greenville. We saw those 3 goals last week by Gomez with 0 assists on those. He was just in the right place at the right time, which obviously is a little bit of luck, but it's also just knowing where to be and where that ball is going to fall.
Yeah, John Hark said it's not something really you can focus on teaching overall, but at the end of the day, really it's all about soccer IQ, reading the opposing defense and their weaknesses and being at the right spot. Alyssa Nichols ready to get us underway. You can hear that Spanish PA in the background. It's Hispanic Heritage Night, and it's ready for soccer here from Greenville. It's the Triumph and TFC2 going at it here to open up week 26 in the USL League One season. Again, I'm Chris McCovic, alongside me, Ross Davenport, as Greenville will have one more home match after this season against OCB in a week. But between then, this match, of course, and also a trip to Tucson, so the start of a really long week for John Hark's side out there.
Yeah, I think if they could take perhaps 5 points out of it would be great. They certainly don't want things to come down to that final game of the season against Tormenta at Tormenta. Even they might be out of it by that point, but they'll be looking to play spoiler in that sort of South battle.
Gomez takes it over. TFC2, they wanted that out of play. Indeed, it will go out as it's a throw-in on the near side for the away side in today's match. TFC2, just a record of 2-6-3 on the road this season. They are feeling some momentum, though. A brace for Perusa last week against Orlando City B, and that was their first win since way back when on July 12th against Tormenta. That snapped an 8-match winless streak.
Yeah, they really struggled on the road. Funnily enough, 2 of their 7 wins have come against Lansing, one of the hardest teams in the league at the moment. That last away win for them was at Lansing back on April 26th.
There's J.J. Donnelly back at the top of the formation as he knocks it on over to Clouse. Here's Bermudez. And Paul Clouse and Aaron Walker, real keys out there for John Harkes. In his mind, opening up space last week. It's Toronto opening up space here. Ball down the left side. There's Griffin Dorsey. He'll swing it in. Dangerous one, but Jay is right there at the end line.
Some early space for Toronto there after the giveaway from Greenville. That's one thing they won't want to be doing. Giving the ball away too often. Toronto has plenty of offensive talent out there.
Here's Gomez. Fresh off of his hat trick, 5 goals this season along with 5 assists. Saul knocks it on, brought down by Ramos Mingo and shoved out of play by Bunk Anderson, the former Clemson player. Lee chips it left side, but Gomez would have been offsides as it's back over to Toronto. Caleb Patterson-Sewell back out there for Toronto. First time in a while, actually, for the Hendersonville, Tennessee native. His 6th start of the season. He has 1 clean sheet, 15 saves.
32, Caleb Patterson-Sewell probably trying to find himself a contract for next season. Maybe a starter somewhere. He's been back up all this year, but he's getting up to that age where you really don't want to be sitting on the bench too much.
Headed on by Bermudez. Elijah trying to bring it down, but it is by Gomez. Still Gomez out wide. Here's Donnelly. Cuts over, a shot deflected. Off the gut there, that one definitely hurts. They're right back up, ready to get back in the action as Greenville continues the attack.
J.J. Donnelly's not afraid to let rip from distance, so I still remember that shot. He crashed against the bar against forward Madison, kind of out of nowhere.
Walker into the box, tries to slice it out towards Saul. He can't get there. And it's cleared back up the field. They had one from that same exact spot against Richmond in City Stadium in a 1-0 loss for the Triumph. But just going beyond the reach of Fitzgerald. Back all the way to Dallas J. Greenville starting from the back. As we mentioned in the open, 7 clean sheets this season for Greenville. Not too many goals, though, despite last week this season, Ross. But the defense, this has been a fortress for them at home.
Yeah, that man Evan Lee was just on the ball there a minute ago. Nice to see him be out finally on Team of the Week. I think that may have been the first time this season, as John Hart said. He's deserved to be on there plenty more times than that. Him and Kevin Pollitt's the real unsung heroes in the center of that Greenville defense.
Seiler at right back, Pollock back out there at left back as Toronto has to retrieve this ball. All the way back comes Bunk Anderson going after it. Up the field and off Bermudez. And Coach Rabaska pretty happy this week, able to get a few players back from injury as a player is down for Toronto. And that looks like Tariq Muhammad, who's been so important to this attack and back line this season. Has dealt with some cards here and there, though that's been the only issue.
We might see Noble or Kello or perhaps Adolfo Lavalle come into the game tonight off the bench. Those two have missed some time lately with injuries.
And Ovalle, that's the real similarity with this recent run of form for Toronto and their injuries. He's been so key as a holding midfielder, their captain throughout the year, and he's been out for most of this recent 8-match winless stride. And then, of course, they were able to bounce back out of that last week. But now that he's back, he's potentially coming off the bench today, but a huge key factor to get the captain back here for the final 3 matches. Through the legs, there's Paul Klaus. He'll get up under this one. Offsides, flag up on the far side. That was a close one, but it's called on Donnelly.
We don't see Greenville get offside too often, but they don't have direct as many some of the teams do in this league. But clearly tonight, they have found a weakness in this Toronto backline, going long early to Donnelly and Saul.
This Toronto defense, second most goals allowed across League One at 41. They have 38 tallied, though. That's what has helped them this season. 3rd in the league. Out wide, here's Muhammad. That's what he does. Stretches that wing so well. But halted by Bermudez. Bermudez seeing some starting time with Omar Muhammad away with Somalia. He is back. Came back last week, but didn't come off the bench. He is on the bench, available for today's action as a foul is called, and it will stay with Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think we'll see Mohammed come off the bench tonight. Obviously a very, very long trip to Africa for that qualifying couple of games. Somalia did super well, considering how low they are in the FIFA rankings, to even contend with Zimbabwe.
Ended up having a goal in the second leg match, but they did lose on aggregate 3-2. Through ball down the left side. Good look by Mohammed. Here's Dorsey into the box. Cuts it over. Perusa there. Can't get the shot off, and it's back with Greenville.
Yeah, Kevin Pollitt sensed that danger there. Can't give Jordan Perusa any 1 yard of space inside that box, and good close down there by the former Wake Forest star.
And Dorsey's an interesting case here overall this season for Toronto, and the fact that he's sitting a few different positions throughout the campaign. They were trying to work him out at right back for a majority of the season to try and maybe fit him in more with the Toronto FC and Major League Soccer, but he's been so good at the top of the formation as one of those wingers out there. He had 4 assists just off the bat to start the year, and since then, hasn't seen much time in that position last week and today. He's getting more into that groove as we hit the final stretch of the season, so keep an eye on him if Toronto's able to make a run at the playoffs in the end.
Yeah, he's sort of the Cole Seiler of Toronto. Cole Seiler
Yes.
obviously played some midfield this year, not as many of assists. Did have a goal earlier this year, excuse me. Yeah, Griffin Dorsey, a dangerous one that Greenville will have to keep an eye on. This Toronto team, they've had a very up and down season, but they've shown at times how dangerous they can be. And 2 wins over Lansing is nothing to shake. That's the only team that's beaten Lansing twice this season is Toronto.
Yeah, if there's one thing John Hark said about Toronto, it's resiliency, their ability to fight against Chattanooga, get a key draw in a really tough match 2 matches ago, and then fight back for the comeback against Orlando City B last week. You can see the success of the Triumph at home, 6-3-3. Toronto FC 2, though, as I mentioned, on the road, just 2 wins this season. Patterson Sewell will have a whack at this one here in the 9th minute. Win today for Greenville. They will be 4 points clear of Madison, who are currently in 4th. They'll just be 5 points back of Lansing in that case. Toronto, a win, and they move into 7th on the table, 4 points back of a playoff spot. Gomez brings it down. No handball signaled by Alyssa Nichols. Bermuda stealing it from Mohammed. Here comes Saul. Saul strikes it, deflected. Blocked by Ramos Mingo. Here's Bermudez. He'll loop it on through, floats there a bit, and cleared on the deflection. Volleyed up and away by Faria. And still a danger spot here for Toronto.
Yeah, it was a good steal by Chris Bermudez, who was obviously in the starting lineup last week, but before that we hadn't seen much of Bermudez. He's kind of taken a back seat to Omar Mohammed, but he can turn it on there as he did on the wing. Got a good cross in. Just unlucky not to find Carlos Gomez. Here it is, look at it again. Good cut back, right footed cross, and Gomez sort of reacted a little bit late to it. I think he got a slight deflection, but kind of find himself in that spot. He scored a couple of 3 goals last week. Yeah,
that would have really been right place, right time yet again for Gomez. He's going to be on the end of this free kick. There was a handball on an attempted clearance. Greenville with a free kick just like that, headed up and away though by Ramos Mingo. Falls to Klaus, he'll shove it into the box, but an easy one to take in for Patterson Sewell.
Carlos Gomez has really found his home. So in that 10 spot, just sitting behind those 2 strikers now as it is for Greenville. They've messed around with a bunch of different formations this year up top, especially whether it's Jake Egan on his own or Jake Egan playing just off Cameron Saul, and now Gomez playing off Saul and JJ Donnelly, obviously due to the injuries of Jake Egan.
Patterson Sewell just launching that one out of play. It's back to Greenville. There is Jordan Perusa, the one, number 77. Keep an eye out for him at the top of the formation for Toronto. He's really sharp at getting that opening strike for them, get them off on the right foot. 8 of his 12 goals this season. The first score of the match. This ball goes out of play, and it's back for a goal kick for Toronto. That, in fact, does lead the league in that category, as Toronto this season, pretty good mark when they do score first. 6 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws. Just 2 penalties this season for Perusa, a very pure second place in the Golden Boot race at this point, just 4 behind Ronaldo Demos. Flicked on by Mohammed. Here comes Toronto, feeling a bit of room on the field. Cutting back over, Walker gets a nice touch there, and that's enough to deflect the ball over to Evan Lee. West, Hanamanian losing it there to Gomez.
Ooh.
Heavy challenge at the end of that. And Waja, well, they're talking to at the least. We'll see if there's any more with this. And indeed there will be. And it's a yellow card to the defensive midfielder of Toronto.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get another look at that one. That was a nasty tackle by Gideon Waja. Came in with the foot up, cleats up, and Alyssa Nichols is going to nip that in the bud here in the 12th minute.
Gomez pretty clearly getting the ball away as we'll take another look here.
Carlos Gomez just on that right ankle. Wages initial heavy touch that allowed the ball to get away from him. Alyssa Nichols shows in the yellow.
Again, if you're just joining us, Hispanic Heritage Night here at Legacy Early College. So a second PA announcer in Spanish, adding some excitement to the crowd. A great match, great atmosphere here in Greenville. Waja, there he is, getting that yellow card. Late tackle on Gomez. Greenville back in possession, top of the box. Saul can't bring it down. Toronto trying to pounce on the opportunity here. Through ball down the right side. Faria going after it. He had a brilliant goal on a set piece against Chattanooga. Gave his side the lead before it was given up towards the end of the match on a Zayed goal for the Red Wolves. A laser on the free kick.
Yeah, Jordan Faria kind of started this season as an afterthought. He only started one of the first 12 games, but started 8 of the last 11. He's a free kick dynamo. You've got to be careful not to give away too many free kicks in the final third with him on the field.
Ramos Mingo taking it in, and as I mentioned before, Coach Rabaska happy to have some of his players back. The first time in a while he's had a full set of center backs, he told us. That includes Ramos Mingo, who was out for a bit of time. Rocco Romeo on the bench as well, adding back up to Bunk Anderson out there, as Patterson Sewell will give it off. Select is the official ball supplier of USL League One and many of the finest leagues in the world. Since 1947, Select has been the leader in soccer ball quality and innovation. For the latest Select products and special offers, please visit SelectSportAmerica.com. That Select ball going out of play. It's a Seiler throw-in on the far side. One of those versatile players that John Harks was telling us about that really can help when you have these injuries on the squad.
No, for sure. Greenville, they match the smallest roster in the league, perhaps one of the smallest budgets as well. And John Harks has done an amazing job, especially recruiting these guys that can play multiple positions.
Gomez cutting around the traffic. Polak was wide open on the left side run. Chested on, good move by Muhammad, but caught up by Paulitz. Seiler battling through traffic, still keeping it in play, but losing it there. Waja. Klaus. Walker. Here's Gomez. Through the traffic, trickles on by Bermudez, but the flag is up. He slots it home, but this will be coming back. Second offsides of the game already for the Triumph.
Yeah, pretty easy decision there. I think Toronto did a good job of stepping up. Just letting Bermudez make that run. He's disagreeing with it.
I think his argument, too, is that it took a deflection along the way on the pass through, which, yeah, that's one of the things where, as a referee, you can go either way at the end of the day.
We had one of those last week with Cameron Saul, who played onto a deflected ball and actually scored as well, and it was called back. And John Harks contacted me in the middle of the week and said he wasn't offside on that play. Maybe another case of that there.
Well, for those that have not had a chance to tune into a Friday matinee match against Toronto, as this ball goes out of play, this in the end will be a corner kick for the Triumph. Toronto, one of the best backlines in the league in terms of gaining the offsides advantage. Really a stark advantage they get against opposing offenses at BMO Training Ground. And John Harks went as far to say that he thought maybe the offsides calls didn't go his way so much in the first match. Greenville did get 3 goals, but he said, hey, Gomez could have had another 1 or 2, but that's another story for another day. As Greenville sets up for the corner kick here, as Bermudez will take it. And a pause as there's some talking between players inside the box towards the end line. Patterson Sewell and Cameron Saul going at it.
Harrison Saul clearly did something to upset Cam Saul. He's livid right now.
Alyssa Nichols trying to diffuse the situation.
Cameron Saul perhaps claiming caught him in the face. Hopefully Caleb Patterson-Saul has a better evening than our goalkeeper here last Friday night.
You can see the kind of leader Perusa is at 18 years old, telling his fellow teammates, keep your head in the game. Don't get caught up by this current situation. This ball whipped in, headed up and away. Bunk Anderson got a touch to it as Walker will recycle the play. Klaus. Bermudez sweeps it in there. Seiler back post, knocked up. And finally cleared by Toronto.
Love the pace on that Chris Bermudez cross. Instead of just sort of lobbing it in there, he powered into that back post, and that allowed Cole Seiler to get a good head on it. Knocked it back across. There's no one there.
Walker got his third of the season last week at the PK spot. A foul won by J.J. Donnelly. Pollock, tonight's captain, surveying the field. He'll drive it down the left side. Knocked up and out of play by West. This will trickle just for a throw-in, though, for the Triumph.
Yeah, speaking of Tyler Pollock, we really thought Triumph would perhaps miss his key leadership at that left back spot last week, but filled in super nicely to Don Bollins. Nice cross there. Cole Seiler did a great job to get on the end of that. Had to jump over his defender, but cleared away in the end. So you have to give Tyler Pollock credit just for the leadership he's provided on that back line. And you have to think some of these younger defenders learned so much from him this season.
Knocked on, Klaus fires, and back of the net. Paul Klaus getting his account going this season. It's 1-0 to the Triumph here in minute 19.
Paul Klaus has had a couple of attempts from outside the box this season, and he hasn't had any luck of anything to go in, and that was a great strike by an Englishman.
And it looked like Patterson-Sewell even got a touch to it, but too much power on it. And when we see the replay of this, watch the hold-up play of Evan Lee. He held it in the box and found the right teammate to pass it on to.
Yeah, I think Caleb Patterson-Sewell might have seen this one a little late. There was a bunch of bodies in front of him. Yeah, good work by Evan Lee. Yeah, there was 3 bodies right in front of that ball. I think Patterson-Sewell just threw that one too late to get a hand on it.
In the 18th minute.
What power there. Paul Klaus firing it home. The Clemson grad. And he puts the Triumph up 1-0 here early on in the match. Just adds a little something in Spanish out there here on Hispanic Heritage Night.
I think we can call that one a golazo, right? Quite the strike by Mr. Klaus. Just when we think Greenville, every time we sort of think their offensive woes are going to happen because of the injuries or people struggling to score, somebody always steps up. Paul Klaus there with a key goal. Key time to get his first goal of the season.
Well, I feel like John Harkes works into the conversation every week with us, giving some credit to Klaus and Walker at those holding midfield spots, their ability to open space up front. But talk about the goals they've had. 1 for Klaus here his first of the season, and 3 for Walker as well. They've been great contributors down the stretch.
You don't normally see too many goals from defensive midfielders, but the quality of this Greenville backline allows those two to push up when they can. Prime example there.
Here comes the recent addition, J.J. Donnelly. He'll lose it, though, as Toronto trying to build back with the ball. Faria can't get to it, and Pollock knocks it out of play. Waja back over to West. Panamanian going down the field. And back with Evan Lee.
We talked about it previously. If Greenville do manage to get into the playoffs, the kind of team you won't want to face, because they get an early goal like this, it'll be hard to break down. I think we've only seen it a couple of times this season where they've given up leads, and especially not at home, except for that game against Tucson, that 3-1 loss a couple of games ago, against a couple of Tucson games ago here, I should say.
Now Ramos Mingo committing the foul. He's another player that has struggled with the cards this season. 5 yellows, 1 red over his previous 10 appearances. Ball swept in, Triumph on the attack, but it'll be headed away by West. Falls to Walker, still Walker. Out wide, running up, sliced on through, Bermudez can't handle it. Gomez the second go, just over the crossbar.
Greenville having great early success with the crosses so far tonight. We know how much they love to whip the ball in from both wings, and some games they find minimal success, but tonight seem to find all sorts of open bodies inside the box.
Yeah, Reedy River Riot will give a cheer for that one as it sliced into their end of the stadium. Patterson Sewell will have the goal kick. And for Toronto, we'll have one final home match coming up after this one against Tormenta next week before they finish with their final 2 on the road at Richmond, at Chattanooga. All playoff contenders, obviously, as are 9 of the teams here in the league at this point.
Definitely see Greenville go a little more direct tonight. They've been very successful in getting bodies on that second ball.
A great move by Ramos Mingo there, keeping it away from J.J. Donnelly. And Hark's telling us this week that really has been impressed by his ability to be a handful up the field, his timing in the air, and his ability to stretch things, and we're seeing that so far. As Toronto tries to build from the back, slicing it down the left side. Toronto, when conceding first this season, just one comeback victory. Faria tries to whip one in. Jay, it's a tough read up and over out of play, but it does safely go out for the Guam International.
Yeah, Faria looked up there. Luca Petrasso was making a lovely run into the box, but Faria was keen on making that cross to the far post, which ended up being a whole lot of nothing.
That you see right there is the key for Greenville. Their defense holding things down if they're able to get that first goal. 9-1-1 scoring first. Especially their defense on the road has really helped them this season.
Greenville just limit your quality chances. They don't let you get those good looks inside the box. Against that 3-1 loss to Tucson, where they did score first, the 1 loss in those 11 games. There was a couple of counter-attacking goals, and one just poor one in the middle when they didn't let a loose ball fall to a defender of all people. Who slotted it away, but yeah, this Greenville team is tough when they get the lead.
Toronto back in possession. They have yet to register a shot here today. Petrasso, 2 goals, 2 assists for him this season. 3-time Team of the Week member. Faria trying to find the angle, crosses it over and out of play once again off target here in minute 24 as Jay will have the goal kick. Fans, you can continue to enjoy the USL on ESPN through the 2022 season. The USL is excited to announce that the championship and League One will remain with the leader in sports for 3 more years. ESPN Plus will continue to be the home of all things USL, and at least 19 games a year will be featured on the ESPN family of networks, including 9 games on ESPN Deportes. Continue to follow, support, and watch your club on ESPN and ESPN Plus.
Going back to that 3-1 loss to Tucson, that was the only time in the last 12 games that Greenville's given up more than 1 goal. Tells you all you need to know about this defense.
By far the top defense in the league at just 15 goals allowed this season. Pollock through the traffic in the box, sliced it on and up and over. Offsides anyway, and luckily a break there for J.J. Donnelly, who just cannot buy a goal to start his tenure with Greenville.
Yeah, Tyler Pollock, be a little more selfish, captain. Should have taken a whack with that with his left foot. Didn't. Caleb Sewell Patterson trying to play with the new rules that maybe he thought it was. I'm not sure why they brought that one back. I thought it wasn't a goal kick after all, obviously.
Yeah, offsides in the end was raised in. Pollock, you mentioned there, trying to be unselfish, give the ball off, but either way it was offsides as he went for Donnelly, and Seiler having a header. And Toronto just trying to build forward at this point. Greenville with the edge in possession early on, 60%. Foul called on the contact by Donnelly, and it's a free kick for Toronto. And you mentioned it earlier, Ross, that's the 3rd offsides call against Greenville. Not a team that you see go offsides too much.
Yeah, but Toronto, as you said, they have let a lot of goals, but they're a well-drilled team at the back when it comes to the offside trap. It can be a very, very effective weapon if the guys are communicating and have their timing down.
Klaus finding open room for Cameron Saul, making his 8th start of the season. Saul cuts the outside, trying to find some help now. He's swarmed by white jerseys. Back to Evan Lee. former Richmond kicker, down the left side. Bermudez. Saul fighting through the traffic. Fighting on his bottom is West. Falls to Bermudez though, still a bit of chaos. Both teams unable to clamp down possession. Walker has a go. That's sailing just wide, but pretty close to the mark considering that quick turnaround.
A bit of a speculative effort there, but you can see Greenville bringing the physicality tonight against this young Toronto team. As I said, 5 of the outfield players still in their teens. Hasn't stopped North Texas though, has it?
No, exactly.
Youngsters.
We'll go a little bit more in depth on North Texas at halftime, but Arturo Rodriguez, Ronaldo Demas leading that squad to amazing places. Great results the last few, and they have a tough road match against Madison on Sunday, but this is when, as a head coach, as an organization, it comes down to how much do you rest your players towards the playoffs. Saw the strike, saved by Patterson Sewell, diving to his right, probably would have been out of play anyway. And he wanted to call, very frustrated with Alyssa Nichols early on.
I think everybody almost stopped in their tracks thinking there was going to be a call. Even Cameron Saul was surprised at how much space he had. He perhaps should have gone far post on Caleb Patterson Saul there.
And that's a lot closer than I thought it would have been. That would have at least hit the post if not went in for Cameron Saul. It's a corner kick for the Triumph. This will be their second of the match. Carlos Gomez will be on the end of it, looking for assist number 6 on the season. Gomez, the service. And Patterson Sewell getting a big paw up to knock that away. On the back post, lurking was Cole Seiler.
Yep, had to get a strong pull on it. Make no doubt that ball is going to get out of there. Sometimes when you get to catch it, you end up dropping it on the way down, but that was a smart decision there by Patterson Sewell. There's also another corner though.
Bermudez will take the corner kick. Third now of the match for Greenville. Bermudez 2 assists of his own this season for the Union City, New Jersey native. They're crowding Patterson Sewell right now. Ball whipped in, but too low towards the near post. Klaus the strike, and just outside, Paul Klaus. That's a bit of a heat check there.
Man's feeling it from distance tonight. That was not a similar strike with the outside of his right foot, but not quite on target this time. Obviously a much more difficult shot than the last one on the on the full volley. Not far off.
Up into the Reedy River Riot as Patterson Sewell will come back and take this goal kick.
See some of the fine tifo work done this season by the Greenville Triumph and their Reedy River Riot. Didn't have a new one for tonight, I was told, but they will for the season finale, the home finale, sorry, next weekend.
Another match with Orlando City B. Fan appreciation night as well. Details to follow on social media about what that will entail. Of course, if you can't make it out to the match, join us on ESPN Plus. It's another match against Orlando City B. That 1-0 3-hour weather delay. Greenville the other way. Battling for it is Donnelly. Cycles it back over. Gomez chips it into the box. No one there, though, on that far side. Faria will take it in.
Greenville finding themselves camped in the final third. This last 5 or 10 minutes or so. Toronto just to calm things down a little bit.
A look at our matches coming up this weekend in USL League One. Lansing trying to seal up that semifinal as the number 2 team in League One. They'll face Tormenta, a team still trying to get out of that tough skid they've felt in the second half of the season. Chattanooga and Orlando doing battle as well. And Tucson-Richmond, that a very enticing matchup. David Bulow's squad trying to still keep that momentum going in the second half of the season, but a late one for them at Tucson, a team trying to find their first goal in the last 180 minutes, gave up 9 over their last 2 matches.
Yeah, if Greenville can find the 3 points tonight, they'll be keeping a very close eye on that Lansing game, because the Lansing loss would still keep Greenville's hopes alive for that second spot. Obviously a home semifinal that comes along with it.
Greenville has 2 matches in hand over Lansing still, and then Madison, North Texas, 5 p.m. start on the Eastern time, and on Sunday that'll be the final match of week 26. That's El Plastico, as they call it, between Madison and North Texas. And funny enough, every team in League One plays one team 4 times. For Greenville, it is Tormenta, the regional rival. But funny enough, as it works in the first year of the league, Madison and North Texas are pseudo rivals at this point on the campaign. And Madison beating a squad that was lacking a bit up there in North Texas 4-1, as an assistant coach saw an appearance in that match, and Michelle, the former FC Dallas star a few years ago. That came about 2 months ago. Ball lofted towards Gomez, but out of play. But for Toronto and Lansing, they were the 4-match battle this season. And as you mentioned, Ross, Toronto doing fairly well against the number 2 team in the league. Walker knocking it on. Greenville seeing Lansing well early this season. A win on April 6th, and then 2 draws to follow. One at Cooley Law School Stadium, of course, and another result here at Legacy Early College.
Yeah, that's obviously if things finish today, that would be the 2-3 matchup, Greenville at Lansing. But those 2 teams are so different than what they were early this season. Everybody was kind of complaining they met 3 times so early in the year. It would be such a fun semifinal that would be if they could somehow manage to finish in the 2nd and 3rd spot.
Greenville, by far, stats-wise, has been the best defense this year in League One. But Lansing, the way they have come on in the second half, maybe arguing that they should be the top offense in League One. North Texas has been up there all season, but both teams right neck and neck in that goal score battle as teams.
Yeah, Lansing, their offense at the moment just looks almost unstoppable. You seem to find someone every week that's going to step up and score a couple of goals. As a team, they're going to be a very tough place. It's a very tough team to beat, especially on that field of theirs.
Toronto back in possession. Petrasso divvying up the traffic. Ralph Priso working it down the left side. Here's Dorsey trying to find the end line. Seiler gets there. That trickled into play, and Paulitz letting it on to his keeper, Dallas J.
One thing you and I talked about, Chris, pregame was if Greenville does reach the semifinals, Guam, it's an international weekend. The potential of Dallas J playing for Guam perhaps, or sticking around and playing the semifinal for Greenville. Guam did lose their opening 2, well, they lost their last 2 games in this World Cup qualifying series, and that may have put them in a bit of a hole. So we'll see if Dallas J decides to stick around for the semifinal. We have a feeling he may do.
Well, it's an interesting discussion that also bleeds on over to USL Championship and their playoffs, their final matches down the stretch, and everything's so important these final few weeks of all these seasons. Do you choose club or country in these tense moments? Obviously, earlier in the season, maybe you choose a country due to it still being the middle of the season. You have so much time still left in the schedule, but with CONCACAF Nations League coming up more regionally here in North America, the Dallas J looking at the Asian side of things with Guam, of course, in that Group A, where China's also in this group, along with other sides. Unfortunately, the side losing twice in the recent international break to the Maldives and the Philippines. But one of many players that will have to make a tough decision, if it does come to it, for the League One playoffs. Petrasso cuts over, Bender up and just wide. Jay hoping it would go wide, and indeed it did for the Greenville side.
Yeah, first real half-quality chance for Toronto. Nice step to his left by Petrasso, and almost a Chris Bermudez special into that top corner, but didn't curl quite enough.
That's the thing about Toronto. They have so many weapons. Obviously, Perusa gets a lot of the attention, but you talk about a player like Serbal that has been out as well with some injury trouble of late. He has over 5 goals this season, as well as really a plenitude of assists to his name. Petrasso 2-2 on his score line this season. Really a deep squad with lots of talent, and you talk about Schaffelberg as well, a player that we haven't seen the second half of the year for Toronto FC2 really, other than a match at City Stadium against Richmond, because he has been with their Major League Soccer side, and Toronto FC that's made a good run towards the playoffs at this point in the regular season.
So Greenville pressing up a little bit here. They've got 6 players in that final third, starting to track back now. Seen them press at times, not as consistently perhaps as someone like Lansing, but they will put that pressure on when John Harkes feels it's necessary.
Petrasso near side. Pollock a watch fly, and let Toronto move it around here, get some possession going. Priso. Toronto getting some numbers ahead here as they work through this Greenville block. Petrasso Losing it there on the fake, and Klaus can't get the stop either. Poked on through and cleared by Polak.
Yeah, nice cover work there by Tyler Polak. This back four is so hard to break down, especially when they get the help from the midfield to settle back like they did there. We've seen so many times this season teams just having to go backwards and sideways and trying to find a way through. It's not easy.
Trying to chip the keeper, but off the mark, luckily for Dallas J, it goes out of play. Looking for the latest USL League One news and content? Follow at USL League One on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for exclusive access and updates. This man right here, the last player of the month in League One for the month of August, and Dallas J, and this great run the Triumph have been on, but also always keep an eye out on social media with at USL League One on Twitter, especially for Goal of the Week and Save of the Week voting.
Yeah, going back to the Guam situation, they lost their first 2 matches in this current round of Asian Cup qualifying. Their next 2 games in October are against the top 2 teams in China and Syria, so Guam will be pretty heavy underdogs in those 2 games, so we'll have to see. You'd have to think, as you said, Chris, that if the Triumph do make the semis, that Dallas J would be there.
Player down for the Triumph, so a bit of a break for both sides. As it is Paul Klaus, who is our early goal scorer in this match on that rocket from the top of the box, assisted by Evan Lee. He's slow here, working on that left leg, as you can see here in minute 38, and he's been a key piece at that holding midfield spot along with Aaron Walker. Cole Seiler has played at that spot at times this year when needed due to injury or rotation.
Getting up a little gingerly. It's the last thing John Harkes will want to see is another injury to a key starter. So he's in a spot where they do have perhaps a bit of depth and they can move the formation around a tad. Just have Aaron Walker back there as his own and a sort of solid defensive midfielder. Looks like he's okay for Klaus.
Ticking into minute 39 here from Legacy Early College. A good look at John Harkes as well, along with his midfielder. Harkes, of course, the former U.S. international, 2-time MLS champion at DC United, as well as a 2-time U.S. Open Cup champion, both at DC United once and the Columbus Crew. Trying to lead this squad in his first year to the promised land as well.
I mean, I think Greenville Triumph have got more than their money's worth with John Harkes. He had a great time in Cincinnati in their inaugural season, and things didn't obviously work out there, but what a snag it was for a League One team to get a coach and a director of football operations like
Headed
Harkes.
directly into the 4th official by Nelson. Nelson just coming on now for Griffin Dorsey, and that's a big change here in the first half as Dorsey came off in that break. Jaden Nelson, though, kind of a seasoned player out there for TFC 2, now making his 11th appearance of the season. 16 years old, he turns 17 next Thursday, so maybe trying to find a goal to celebrate that. Knocked off the ball, Petrasso getting Gomez, and a foul is called back to the Triumph.
Yeah, that's a key change for Toronto on that right side. Jaden Nelson, obviously a talented player, but losing that veteran presence of Griffin Dorsey and now bringing on yet another teenager, especially when you're down 1-0.
Dorsey was the 6th pick in the 2019 MLS Super Draft for Toronto. Playing days at Indiana. It's been so key this season, so something to keep an eye on for Toronto down the line the rest of the season. And hopefully nothing serious that caused that change.
When I say he's a veteran at 20, not exactly,
Well,
but on this team he is.
Well, I just called Jaden Nelson, the 16-year-old, a seasoned player for Toronto, but he's been exactly that. Him and Faria sharing time at one of the wing spots over the course of the second half of the season. And Coach Rabaska told me a few weeks ago that really it's been about trying to find one of those guys to replace the Schaffelberg production. And they're looked upon maybe for next season to fill one of the starting roles. They're both on the field today, obviously, in the wing spots at the moment. Saul cutting back over, whips the ball in, a high arcing ball, Donnelly after it. It's a battle for it against West, he'll keep it in. Polak stepping up into the box, knocked on by Gomez. Ramos Mingo gets a touch to it. Gomez still after it and cleared finally. What a touch by Petrasso.
A couple of nice touches there. The first one by Carlos Gomez almost got on the other side of his defender, but not quite. Just snuffed away that chance there by Toronto.
Just 2 shots to this point for TFC 2, none on target. Greenville 7, 2 on target. They had 2 blocked as well. Pollock, the volley, back down the other way here at Legacy Early College. 1-0 to Greenville here on Hispanic Heritage Night.
Lovely ball.
Beautiful one towards Nelson. Jay off his line. Didn't see that one coming as it's cleared up into the stands.
Dallas J would have to make that snap decision within a millisecond here. He almost didn't make it in time. Just got to it, did the Greenville goalkeeper.
Toronto working a bit of possession, maybe to find this equalizer just before the break. Through ball, but just outside the reach of Petrasso.
Petrasso, they're working in those channels. Toronto love to get those through balls in those channels between the wings and the wing backs and the center backs.
Coming up at halftime, stay with us here on ESPN Plus. We'll take a look at some of the goals from last week, a historic week in League One, so stay tuned for the reason why coming up. And of course, a look at the playoff picture as it stands, the teams currently contending, and also a look at the overall highlights the week that was in both the USL Championship and USL League One. Dallas J over the ball, getting set to knock this downfield.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams out there that if they don't win this weekend, the playoff chances could be severely diminished.
Headed up. And Bermuda's allowing that to go out of play. And Toronto and Richmond, probably the two teams most eyes are on that potentially their playoff hopes could be gone without a good result this week.
Yeah, I think FC Tucson as well. They do have these home matches down the stretch, but as I said last week, when they lost to Greenville, playing at home, there's a lot more pressure sometimes. You're expected to win.
Ball intended for Gomez there, cleared out, and back with Paulitz now, over to Klaus, who's back out onto the field after going down briefly.
Lovely ball by Paul Klaus.
Seiler heading it down, knocks it over, and wins a corner kick for the Triumph. That'll be number 4 here in the first half.
Corner kick for Greenville.
Bermudez will take the corner kick. Bermudez. Maybe one last dagger here before halftime. Short route, though, will be whipped in by Klaus. Back area is Seiler, tipped on and over by Patterson Sewell. Enough of a danger spot to force the touch.
Yeah, nice little training ground move there. The short corner sort of throws the timing after the defender sometimes. And Cole Seiler, it's an amazing job to get that ball anywhere nearly on target. He's going to back away from the goal and a good 8 yards out. Managed to force Patterson Sewell into a tip over the bar.
The 5th corner of the match for Greenville now. Will come from the left side this time around.
Apparently Greenville wanted it from the right-hand side. The referee, Alyssa Nichols, was having none of that.
That's that whole thing where it goes right over the center of the crossbar. Which direction does it go? 50-50 decision in the end. Goes to the left side as it's headed up. Falls directly top of the box. Still with Greenville. No, goes the other way. But there is Paul Klaus back at midfield to take it back in.
Yeah, Toronto did a good job to crowd the space out there. So Nichols was waving off any appeals it would be for a handball. I don't think anybody was really suggesting.
Headed on by Seiler. Here's Donnelly. Still Donnelly. Whipped in. Good service here towards Gomez. He'll get up under this one and settle it down. Gomez whips it in. Falls, but Donnelly pretty clearly offsides there. That'll be number 4 of the first half. And as you heard here from Legacy Early College, 3 minutes of stoppage time on the board. Bermudez takes it in. As we talked about before for Toronto FC2, that advantage at BMO Training Grounds, 75-16, as Toronto getting a good stop on Donnelly as he almost broke away there.
Yeah, I thought Donnelly was through. I think it was Patrick Van Hansen coming over to cover and make the tackle. Oh, a bit of sloppy play from Toronto there. They've had a couple of sloppy ones go out for throw-ins for Greenville.
Bunk Anderson has been such a solid force in the back line, consistent for Toronto. 24 appearances this season. He also has 5 goals. So if Toronto has any set pieces in this match, keep an eye on him. He's a big head out there at 6'2". Walker. Donnelly through the traffic, back to Walker. Co-captain of this side with Tyler Pollock. Here's Bermudez. Seiler draws the contact. The ball will roll and stay in play, though. About 90 seconds remaining in a first half action. Evan Lee takes it in. He'll take a step up. Center back service to the left side. He'll find the left back Pollock. Pollock centrally. Saul flicks it on. Gets it to Gomez. Back over, but this will roll harmlessly over to Patterson Sewell, and another offsides call on Greenville. That's number 5 now. Legacy Early College turning into BMO training ground a bit here early on, despite the 1-0 lead for the Triumph. Through everyone, back to the Greenville back line. Collitz will heave it down the field. Gomez. Bermudez. Cleared away. Bunk Anderson stepping up there to knock it out as Greenville looks content to take this to the break. 1-0 stands tall. Paul Klaus with the strike from the top of the box. That's the difference at this point at home. Walker. Lee. Pollock. Alyssa Nichols still not going to the whistle as it's over the top. One final chance for Greenville. Saul knocks it on Gomez. Right foot cuts it back to the left. Fires and off Patterson Sewell, out of play. And maybe time for one final corner kick for the Triumph.
Yeah, good strong body work there by Cameron Saul, a shielded defender, and a good pullback to Gomez, who some stellar footwork to open himself up for a left-footed chance. Palmed over by Patterson Sewell. One more chance here for Greenville.
Gomez ready for the corner. Number 6 so far. Headed up by Seiler on the doorstep, knocked down by Patterson Sewell, picks it up. And there is the whistle for halftime here from Legacy Early College. Last chance there for Greenville, but nonetheless they will be in the lead at the break. They're up 1-0 as Paul Klaus getting his first of the season back in the 19th minute from the top of the box off the hold-up play by Evan Lee. Coming up, we take a look at the playoff battle here in USL League One. 1-0 to Greenville at the break. We'll be back with more coverage coming up.
Join Finn's Top Wash Club for unlimited monthly washes at one low price. Finn's Car Wash, proudly created by AAA.
Play will continue. Keegan back across, it's in! Greenville on the board at home, it's 1-1.
So with all the games and the trainings that we have in this lovely South Carolina weather, recovery is obviously very important for us in order to be able to perform on the weekends. And we do a lot of different things as players in order to recover properly. A big thing that we do is we go to Upstate Spine and Sport with Dr. J and his assistants, and they do a great job for us. They do some chiro work, they do some cupping, they'll do stretching, they'll do massage, they'll do a lot of different things for us, and we go there Tuesday every week, and additionally if we need it before the game. And I think it's great for us in order to kind of get through the week of training, because it can be difficult. We push ourselves hard, and then to be rested and ready to go by the weekend.
It's only fitting that a city that has so successfully triumphed has a team that honors that.
Welcome back here into halftime from Greenville, South Carolina, between Toronto FC2 and the Triumph. Last week, a historic week in League One from the scoring perspective, the most goals in a week in the league's early history. Here's a look at some of the top moments from the week that was. The opposite is so for North Texas SC as they start quickly down the right flank. This will stay in play. Donzo on the run, plays it in. Demos there and heads it up and in. Ronaldo Demos, there's the Golden Boot leader. And now a new fastest goal in League One history. Ball back the other way. North Texas on the run. Demos through. Demos striking it home. A break from the Hastings striker. College. Keeps it in. Demos brings it down. Rodriguez cuts and fires in. Still looking. Rayo. Demos. Still Demos. Strikes it on past Fitzgerald. Have a hat trick, sir.
From the Orlando goalkeeper. Putting on a show. Here's a shot, and it's in. The opening goal for Orlando City B. Be able to. Now it's Petrasso. Back for Faria, the cross in the middle. Perusa trying to find a goal, and he does. A second goal for Jordan Perusa, and it gives Toronto FC2 the lead.
Had at least 4 goals, so we might be in store for some great action. Up and just squeezing on by Aviles, and as if on cue to start this match, just like the other two tonight. Tormenta on the board, 1-0. Donzo on the run against Hara. Stopped by Arsen, back in on the second chance. Flips it in, finds the back post.
Ball in the box, looking for Danny Tenorio, and he slots it home. Forward Madison strike first. A road goal for the Flamingos.
Saul strikes it, stopped, another go, up and in. The Triumph on the board. Middle knocked on, Saul the strike. Knocked up by Batista. Punched down, up and in. A mistake at the back. Ball lofted in, headed up by Batista. Still alive, Donnelly strikes it through the leg. Gomez again, and Gomez hat trick.
For second in the league in USL League One. He's got an opportunity for another. Curls and scores! Oh, Zaguro gets Chattanooga off to a dream start. An incredible corner. To win here tonight, they're going to have to do something they haven't done all season long. But here's Rafa Mintz again towards the D. Mintz again, shot! And we are level at 1. Rafa Mintz again. Ball curled in towards the 18. Shot and a goal. Here comes Pato. He's one of those goal scorers. Lays it off. Moshobani in the 18. Moshobani! 2-2. His way through to Pato. The 1-2. Stepping up. Shot and a goal. Headed away. Rarely. Volley attempt. Blocked. Comes through, shot, and a goal, and we're level at 3. Moshobani again, back heel, Moshobani! He did it again! Toomey, Moshobani, 4-3, Lansing.
So many games, it wasn't just one that piled them on. Look at the two teams in front of us today. The Triumph putting up 4 on FC Tucson, and also Toronto, 5 goals combined with OCB in their comeback victory 3-2 at home last week. The really impressive stuff from around the entire league we saw last week.
Yeah, everybody loves to see piles of goals, of course, except goalkeepers. I think the combination here of desperate teams down the stretch in some entire race.
Yeah, you can see the consequences of this between the pipes coming up as we look at our GAA leaders from across the league. And of course, Demos and Gomez combining for 2 hat tricks on the week. That Demos hat trick helping North Texas sail high, still at the top of League One, of course, at 50 points. They also have the right now of home field advantage in the playoffs.
Yeah, North Texas looked the class of this league really since the first couple of weeks, led by MVP candidate Arturo Rodriguez and plenty of offensive firepower.
If there's one sure thing in the league right now, it is the #1 seeded North Texas SC. But beyond that, a lot of contenders still trying to fight their way into the playoffs. Lansing clinching a spot last week, but Greenville, Madison currently above the line. Tormenta still in there fighting.
Yeah, Greenville have a couple of key matches in the space of only a few days with that one at Tucson on Tuesday and then Orlando again on Saturday.
Yeah, Lansing just 2 more matches remaining. Tormenta up there with Chattanooga on 33 points. And Tucson, Toronto, Richmond trying to be maybe the Cinderella stories of this year.
Yeah, Toronto really going to look to play spoiler with 3 games against teams right at the edge of the playoff race.
Yeah, Richmond, Tucson actually do battle coming up tomorrow on ESPN+. Also coming up in the USL Championship playoff race potentially, El Paso, Fresno feature as the next Wednesday night soccer matchup.
Let's go with the left foot, Jamal Johnson. What a goal! Perfectly played. With one touch to settle, and Alex finds the top of the net. Black stays down, and Indy 11 has a one.
Ball struck towards the 18, headed on and headed home.
Oh, glancing header, and he caps it off with the goal of the night.
I think they want dangerous play call.
That one served in the back of the net. Fresno out of nowhere.
Milton serves it into the back post. It's off the woodwork and it's in.
That's in the back of the net. Another cross into the corner, and Hubbard does even better.
Moberg's gonna take a shot on goal with a cross and a fantastic save.
Good shot for Blackwood. Nice play by Van Oekel.
To force him to give the ball up. Illich saved.
Second in the league in USL League One. He's got an opportunity for another curls and scores. Oh, Zaguro. Moshobani again. Back heel, Moshobani. He did it again.
Whips it in, finds the back post. Oh, what a finish, Arturo Rodriguez. Through ball though, Demas the other way, Demas saved by Hara.
It's in the middle. Still Jaden Nelson. His shot. It's saved again by Giuliano Chache.
Wide open. Fitzgerald covering the mark, still Rodriguez, and stopped by Fitzgerald. News and notes from around USL League One playoff action raging on as Carlos Gomez helping out Greenville in the cause.
Yeah, Chris, we talked to Coach John Harkes earlier this week, and he said he asked Gomez to get a little more involved recently, and he certainly has.
He got Player of the Week honors for his hat trick against Tucson. Jordan Peruza trying to get some goals in the back of the net for TFC2 this season.
Yeah, the title race is still out there. We'll have to see how they do in the last few weeks here.
Yeah, all Ronaldo Demas at this point, but Dallas J all over things in between the pipes for Greenville.
Yeah, we see Carlos Avila's returning to the top 5 here, but yeah, Dallas J appears to have this one in hand.
Up by 0.4 GA at this point in that race. Here's the scoreboard from last week, highest scoring week in League One.
Yeah, goals everywhere and plenty of touches across the board.
Offenses are peaking at the right moment as we approach the playoffs, the standings as we enter week 26.
Yeah, the top 4 perhaps trying to separate themselves a little bit, but we'll see how this weekend plays out.
Separation, not something we're familiar with here in USL League One. 3 matchups coming up tomorrow in League One across ESPN+, and then one additional one as well on Sunday, El Clasico going on between Madison and North Texas, 5 p.m. Eastern Time start. Here from Greenville, upcoming, we'll have highlight stats as we get set for second half kick.
Join Finn's Top Wash Club for unlimited monthly washes at one low price. Finn's Car Wash, proudly created by AAA.
Play will continue. Keegan back across, it's in! Greenville on the board at home. It's 1-1.
So with all the games and the trainings that we have in this lovely South Carolina weather, recovery is obviously very important for us in order to be able to perform on the weekends. And we do a lot of different things as players in order to recover properly. A big thing that we do is we go to Upstate Spine and Sport with Dr. J and his assistants, and they do a great job for us. They do some chiro work, they do some cupping, they'll do stretching, they'll do massage, they'll do a lot of different things for us, and we go there Tuesday every week, and additionally if we need it before the game. And I think it's great for us in order to kind of get through the week of training, because it can be difficult. We push ourselves hard, and then to be rested and ready to go by the weekend.
It's only fitting that a city that has so successfully triumphed has a team that honors that.
Welcome back here into Legacy Early College, and celebration is on here. Hispanic Heritage Night here at Legacy Early College. 1-0 to the Triumph, and certainly Paul Klaus and the gang dancing early on here with this result to this point.
Yeah, no doubt. Reedy River right, especially right behind that goal that Paul Klaus deposited that goal, which we'll see in a second.
So far, so good for the Triumph. Looked like they were really in control throughout this match. Only 2 shots so far for Toronto.
Corner here brought down by Aaron Walker. Back out to, he ends up initially in the end with Carlos Bermudez.
A good option outside. Bermudez, another cross here today. And Seiler, good awareness there, trying to work the ball back over.
There's a nice drill cross in by Bermudez. Some acrobatics by Cole Seiler to get even any kind of contact on that one.
Here's the goal. Keep an eye on Evan Lee here with the hold-up play.
Yeah, not usually a spot he finds himself in the center back, but what a strike by Paul Klaus.
Evan Lee there, an extra celebration. He has an assist on the day, the center back, and over to Paul Klaus, his first of the season.
Yeah, through 3 players, 2 Toronto and also Carlos Gomez in the vicinity. That kind of stopped Patterson Sewell from getting a good look at it.
And Greenville off and running from there, along with the Reedy River Riot, celebrating here at home. Patterson Sewell and Toronto trying to get things going the other way, but it's been a struggle as Greenville has been off and running, stretching this back line.
This was the one when they all thought the foul was coming on Cameron Sewell, but a good left-footed striking. He's a naturally left-footed player. And perhaps should have gone across to the far post, but still a good strike that forced Patterson Sewell into a decent save.
So you bring up a good point, Ross. 5 offsides calls against Greenville. Then also the corner kicks, really key so far for momentum for the Triumph.
Yeah, nice little short corner play there. Cole Seiler again with the off-balance header. Perhaps he's going to get one of those on target tonight. That one probably would have gone over regardless, but Patterson Sewell just making sure. And there's your stats there, the key one, those shots, 10-2 in favor of Greenville.
Lopsided really in favor of the Triumph, but overall you see 5 offsides, but that a good indication of what the Triumph were doing, stretching the field, putting the pressure on Toronto, and we'll see if they can continue to do that into the second half. Toronto, keep in mind, they already used a sub in this match. Nelson coming on for Dorsey. So 3 left for Greenville, just 2 left for Toronto. We're here on the road looking to come away with the result before they enter their final home match of the season against Tormenta coming up next week. It will be the Triumph starting with the ball here in the second 45.
Yeah, they'll be looking for that second goal as soon as they can. Nobody wants to keep that 1-0 lead for long. Get that second goal, that could be the death blow for Toronto and maybe even their season.
As you saw, Toronto 2 shots, but none on target here against Dallas J. Alyssa Nichols overseeing things here from Legacy Early College. Just 1 yellow card so far against Gideon Waja.
Made a difference though. It was an early yellow card on Waja, and he's had to hold himself up on a couple of when he potentially have slid in and tried making a tackle. He's had to hold himself up and refrain from perhaps getting that second yellow card, obviously wisely.
A few starters this season for Toronto on their bench, a very deep bench today. We'll see how Michael Ravasca uses it as we enter the second 45. Greenville, of course, some options of their own as we get set with the whistle, and we're underway. Second 45 from Greenville, South Carolina. The Triumph on the lead via the Klaus goal and looking to get 3 points, which would be huge to lock up 3rd place here in League One. Into the box, Donnelly losing it. Seiler there as well. It goes out. A throw-in on the near side for the Triumph.
Yeah, we see the Triumph again immediately going to that direct ball long, looking for Cameron Sewell, and that's been an effective weapon so far this evening. clearly something John Harkes has seen as he can exploit against this Toronto defense.
Saul can't get to it. It's flicked on to Klaus. Header up towards the box, but back towards midfield. Paulitz got to go at it. So has Bunk Anderson. Muhammad. One key to this offense for Toronto. Muhammad being dangerous down the flank. He has not been able to do so today. Saul dangerous into the right side of the box. Slots it on and in. Cameron Saul 1v1. He puts it home. And his second of the season. Triumph up 2-0 just like that.
That was almost too easy for Cameron Saul. Giveaway at the back by Toronto, not for the first time tonight. And a nice slip ball through there and a superb calm finish with his off foot by Cameron Saul.
2 goals at home for the 3rd time this season for the Triumph. And just like that, out of the break with the momentum.
Yeah, there's a poor giveaway there, and Paul Klaus looked up nicely and just slipped that ball through. Lovely lead by Carlos Gomez. He thought about touching it, then calm and composed finish from 6 yards out by the Englishman. 2 goals by the Englishman tonight. We might have to celebrate English Heritage Night soon.
Saul putting that on by a late reaction with the right hand for Patterson Sewell, and 2 goals just like that for the Triumph.
There's that key second goal. They can really relax now, and Toronto will have to perhaps come out of their shell even more now if they're going to try and create, and even created a quality chance here in the second half. It's a nasty foul there by Evan Lee.
Late contact on Faria, and be surprised if he wasn't. And talking to at the least, but the card is out on Evan Lee, and surprisingly how much he has played this season. 22 starts overall, making his 23rd. That's his first yellow card overall of the season.
You talked about set pieces, though. We'll have to be careful here. Keep an eye on Bunk Anderson.
Toronto down 2-0, but they're 3rd in League One in goals scored. A very dangerous team on offense. They can score on the set pieces. Faria did against Chattanooga. See if they can find one here. Ball swept in. Headed on, up and in, and just like that, Toronto answers. Back to a 1-goal game.
Luca Petrasso maybe with the touch. Not Petrasso, no.
Ramos Mingo, and those center backs keep on scoring for Toronto. That's his 2nd of the season.
Yeah, it was a lovely delivery on the feet kick just as you draw it up, and Ramos Mingo there with the near post header, and Dallas Shea left with no chance. So nice response by Toronto. There's another look at it. Yeah, he's got to get a body on that. Evan Lee should have been goal side of him. And relatively easy finish for Ramos Mingo in the end. It was all about the delivery, though.
Beautiful finish there, just inside the post. And Greenville will be kept off the board, trying to find the 14th clean sheet of the season. They'll stay at 13 as Toronto trying to make the comeback. A foul the other way. Toronto, some momentum here. Both teams will go out of the break. We're in for a good one here on this Friday night.
Yeah, we were singing Evan Lee's praises earlier, but that's a minute of action you want to forget with giving away the free kick, getting the yellow card, and then losing his marker on the goal.
Seiler down the right side, past Donnelly on the chase after the ball. Donnelly can't get there in time. Just trickling over the end line, and it's back for a goal kick for Toronto. Elijah will take it in, and Toronto just like that, some momentum.
In the 48th minute.
And back with Patterson Sewell. So Toronto getting the 1 goal back after the quick insurance tally by Greenville. And now maybe some momentum for Michael Rabaska's side. Jaden Nelson came on in the first half, takes that one in, but swept away by Paulitz.
Yeah, you know Toronto are going to throw bodies forwards now. Nothing to lose. Bunch of youngsters with plenty of energy, and this game is certainly far from over.
That was the first shot on target of the match for Toronto FC2. Knocked on, flicked as well by Walker. Lee will have to deal with this, and he'll sweep it into the crowd safely. Petrasso through the traffic, but Polak will have a say there. Here comes Gomez on the run, so is Nelson. He gets there first. Bermudez, pressure from behind, quick grab, but no call. Here comes Toronto, put over, and Politz had the clearance anyway, but it will be offsides on Toronto. That's the first time here today.
Yeah, Toronto obviously with some momentum thanks to that goal, and looking dangerous coming forward here in the last couple of minutes.
Fans, the USL unveiled its elite youth platform, USL Academy. This allows clubs at all levels across the USL to develop its local youth and compete at the highest level across the United States, including the USL Academy Cup. For more information, visit uslsoccer.com/academy. A dream start to the second half for Michael Rabaska after maybe 2 minutes in when they gave up the insurance tally, but showing some good promise as they try to get the win here on the road. It would be their second comeback victory of the season. Klaus heads it on, and we're hearing that Toronto getting set to make their second substitution of the match, and Waja, who's on a yellow card, will be the name called at this point. Certainly bringing some muscle, a big body into the midfield in Noble Okello. He's not played in quite a few matches for Toronto.
Yeah, Waja with the yellow card. That obviously puts some fresh legs in a player that can afford to perhaps jump into a tackle or two. Not get a red card.
Klaus on back to Dallas J. This is where things get interesting maybe for John Harkes and his side. Do they stay aggressive on the offensive end and with the press like they have? Or do they slow things down and try to be more defensive, as Toronto is clearly turned to second gear here and gotten a goal and maybe a bit more of a pressing style as we head further into the match. Here is the sub. Waja coming out, Okello in, a straight switch like for like for that defensive midfield slot in the formation.
Certainly not like for like height-wise, though. Okello's going to have to be another one to watch on the set pieces.
Okello, Canadian international, 22 appearances last year for TFC2, making number 16 here today this season.
Yeah, I think John Harkes will continue to try and attack this one. You are at home. You know, a point wouldn't be the end of the world, but it would obviously be a little disappointing after having the 2-0 lead. But I think Greenville will certainly try and push for that third. You've got plenty of offensive options on the bench too, like Sakadiri, Muno Robinson, etc.
Throw in for Toronto as the ball was bodied out of play. Ramos Mingo was all over that, the goal scorer.
Obviously, Omar Mohamed talked about him a little earlier, coming off his world travels a couple of weeks ago.
Well, we've talked about Chris Bermudez as well as a bit of a super sub this season. Foul is called as Polak goes down. Key free kick here for Greenville. But Bermudez, Mohamed, their creative ability coming off the bench, that's a key asset, either one, down the stretch.
So captain's okay.
See what Greenville can do here. Toronto scored on a set piece. Greenville trying to answer as it's Gomez heading over for the ball. But Polak a short distance nearer.
And we'll see what Gomez does here with the in-swing. They've been going to the far post a little more often than they had earlier in the season, so looking for that ball back across. We'll see if that's the tactic here. Gomez is giving his signals now.
Seiler has been airborne quite a few times on these corner kicks today. We'll see if he can find one here. It's a key aerial target this season for the Triumph. 55th minute, Greenville looking to get another back. Swept in, dangerous one, Patterson Sewell another punch away. Priso knocking it downfield, and it will stay with the Triumph as Klaus will heave this into the air. Polak Gomez. Centrally with Walker. Here's Seiler. He'll try the far side. Lee going after it. He'll chase down this one. West just behind him. Panamanian getting the touch he wanted, out for a goal kick for Toronto.
Yeah, good work there by Jesus West. Earned that goal kick.
Saul and Klaus so far today getting the tallies for Greenville. They were right out of the gates running at Toronto like they were in the first 45, but Toronto answering and killing some of the momentum in the air here at Legacy Early College, and see if Greenville can get it back. But Toronto looking to keep their playoff hopes alive. They're not dead what they lost today, but certainly a long and tall mountain to climb.
And that was a little clumsy there by Tariq Mohammed. Not the first time we've said those words this season. So been a few clumsy challenges, including in the box.
Paul Klaus over the ball, went down with what appeared to be a knock early on in this match, but right back up and into the match, and he's been good since then. Headed on, Saw after it, knocked down. Bit of a mishap on the clearance as Nelson will give it off. Toronto trying to move the other way, deflected. Bermudez keeps the pressure alive against Muhammad. This will be brought back against the Triumph as Alyssa Nichols goes to her whistle.
Perhaps a shove in the back by Carlos Bermudez. Toronto has been pretty disciplined so far. Again, we mentioned they've given away a penalty in all 3 of their last 3 games. None so far tonight, though.
8 matches winless. They got the win, a comeback style against Orlando City B last week. Can they do the same here today? Seiler, Bermudez. Down the right flank, here's Donnelly, but so too is Bunk Anderson. Their side kept in play. Okello knocks it on. Here's Nelson, almost a brilliant touch, but knocked out. And Seiler thought he had it, but instead it's back to Toronto. And Greenville's first sub coming on down the line shortly. And it's going to be a like-for-like switch in terms of wingers' creative ability. Omar Muhammad comes on for the first time since his trip to Africa with Somalia, looking to impact for the Triumph.
Yeah, scored a goal, as you said, Chris, in that qualifier, the second qualifier against Zimbabwe. Took advantage of a bit of a defensive mid-hat, but had to sprint a good distance, and it was a composed finish by Mohammed, and they'll be looking to put one in the back of the net here tonight and extend that Greenville lead for sure.
1 goal, 1 assist this season, making appearance number 19 for the Westerville, Ohio native. As Bermudez comes off. Really just trying to strengthen the legs out there. Toronto off and running, and that looks like at this point what Greenville needs. Some more speed out there on the wing, and that's what Muhammad offers. Meanwhile, a throw in on the near side. We're back with Tariq Muhammad. Nelson. Ball knocked out of play by Seiler, but it will go off Nelson back to Greenville.
Yeah, this time Greenville gets the call. Seiler was looking for the call on the previous throw, and he thought he'd earned it and went for the quick throw, but the linesman didn't apparently see where the ball went off, and referee Alyssa Nichols had to make the call in the end. But Greenville gets the call there, but immediately, well, I guess that's going to be a green free kick. Or not, yeah.
Tough to see there, 50-50 battle. Priso came in there. It looked like he got there first, but upended Gomez in the process. Force Klaus to take this a bit of a step back. And Polak takes it in. This is what Greenville can do all season. Slow down pace and try to take in that home defensive fortress to their advantage. Seiler on and through, but it goes out. A Toronto throw-in.
Yeah, it was a lovely touch there by Mohammed, but Carl Seiler's touch a little too heavy.
Greenville and Toronto doing battle here from the upstate of South Carolina to open up week 26 of the USL League One season. Again, I'm Chris McCovic alongside me, Ross Davenport. Greenville up 1-0 at the half, but 2 quick goals, one by either side. took us out of the break, and we're at 2-1 in favor of the Triumph at this point in minute 61. Coming up tomorrow, 3 more matchups on ESPN Plus in League One action. It starts Lansing and Tormenta. Lansing a solid second on the table, but Tormenta trying to squeeze into the playoffs as Chattanooga and also Orlando will do battle also at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And Tucson and Richmond, the nightcap for your Saturday. Tucson trying to break through this recent skid of their offense. 2 straight games getting shut out and giving up 9 goals combined against Lansing and Greenville. On Sunday, we finish things off on ESPN Plus. Madison and North Texas, 4th matchup this season between the two sides. And North Texas, they were beaten by Madison in the previous matchup at Breese Stevens Field 4-1. So we'll see if Madison can catch North Texas napping after they clinched home field advantage last week in the League One playoffs. Of course, all 4 matchups coming to you on ESPN Plus Saturday and Sunday. As a player is down for Toronto FC2, and it is Ramos Mingo. Not sure if he's arguing for a call, but he will need treatment in the end from the trainer.
Yep, only a couple of weekends left in this inaugural season after this one, Chris, and what a League One campaign it's been. So many teams still in the playoffs, playoff position, actually with a chance of being in the playoff positions, I should say. With a month left in the season, we had I think probably 8 teams with a legitimate shot, and it's perhaps could be down to 6 by the end of this weekend. But it's been so much fun to watch, and such great quality soccer across the board.
And we know 2 teams currently in, Lansing clinching last week and North Texas 2 weeks ago. So those 2 names will be in, but right now 3rd through 9th all battling, and now Richmond and also this Toronto side, probably the 2 that you could argue might be out of it with losses this week. But outside of that, still so many teams battling. Madison a 3-point lead on Tormenta and Chattanooga at this point. But keep in mind, Greenville, this match today, after today, they will still have as many matches as the teams around them, as they'll have 3 left after this one. But also a tough week for Greenville. They'll play this one, go on the road against Tucson on Tuesday, and then back at home next Friday against Orlando City B. It's really tough stretch in terms of travel.
Yeah, people talked about Greenville having one of the easier schedules down the stretch, but as we've seen as this league, anybody can beat anybody else on a given day. And if Greenville can hold on here and they get some results going their way tomorrow regarding Chattanooga and Tormenta especially, they could find themselves with maybe only a couple of points away from clinching a playoff spot.
They'll finish the season in Statesboro against Tormenta, as it will be Rocco Romeo coming on in the stead of the injured Ramos Mingo. Both center backs, and Romeo making his 9th appearance of the season. All starts before this, 8 of them. Does have 1 goal this year. But that is the 3rd and final sub for Toronto FC2, and we're only in minute 64.
Yeah, not something Coach Rabasco would like to do. He had to make the early injury sub when Griffin Dorsey went off. Now another one, and he's got to hope his team remains healthy here these final 27 minutes.
Weston back to midfield. First touch for Romeo, out wide to Mohammed. Okello. Mohammed. There's Bunk Anderson stepping up.
I knew the Spanish announcer was going to have good fun with Rocco Romeo, and he did. I was waiting
Double R there here on Hispanic Heritage Night. Second PA announcer. Okello into the box. A volley. More of a clearance there from the big man as it works its way to the right wing. Polak the header, straight off the forehead, out of play. A throw in for Toronto towards the final third, just like that. Here they come. Petrasso, quick turnaround towards Lee. He'll fire and stopped by Jay point blank.
Yeah, good left-footed shot there by Luca Petrasso. Dallas Jan in the right place, though.
He'll spur things on, going the other way with Paulitz. Klaus over to Lee.
One consistent thing we've seen in Toronto this season is late drama, whether it's for them or against them. There always seems to be late goals in their games quite often.
Yeah, one of the better second half teams this season in USL League One.
Those young teenage legs don't seem to want to give up.
Near side, here's Seiler. Gomez. Mohammed. Good change of direction there for the Triumph. Mohammed will knock it on through. Priso went down, but they couldn't capitalize on it. Nelson, Okello, back through Seiler. Walker, the service, left side. Falls to Muhammad, but couldn't handle it past West. Stays with Toronto here in minute 66. And here's exactly what you're talking about, Ross. Toronto so good in the second half, but Greenville as well at times this season.
Yeah, it was a good tackle there by Jesus West on Omar Mohammed. Stood his ground. That's one thing of Omar Mohammed. If you jump in there, give him one side or the other, he'll take it. Jesus West did a good job there.
Knocked down. Bunk Anderson joining the attack.
Dangerous here.
Numbers forward for Toronto. Here they come. Nelson, left side of the box. Cuts it back. Paulett's the touch. Nelson, midfield now, but stepping up is Gomez. Donnelly with the pressure as well. Pollock goes down. No foul called, but it will be brought back now as Muhammad did not advance forward, and a free kick coming for Greenville.
Yeah, back down the other end. Kevin Pollock's doing his usual style of stand-up work. Isn't the look of that foul. Referee perhaps could have played advantage, but Omar Mohammed was going away from goal and didn't have much help, so probably the right call in the end.
Pollock help up here as he finishes tying off his boot. Paulitz, Gomez. Quick turnaround to Kello. It's one thing Kello can do as well with that big frame, cover even more ground.
Yeah, Gomez looked up there, was looking for a run from J.J. Donnelly, who's been a little quiet in the second half so far.
Down the field. Open possession for Bunk Anderson as Okello takes it in. Good footwork there. Toronto trying the left flank. Paulitz is there, so is Peruza. Offsides, the flag is up second time in the second half compared to the 5 in the first half for the Triumph. Fans, you can continue to enjoy the USL on ESPN through the 2022 season. The USL is excited to announce that the championship in League One will remain with the leader in sports for 3 more years. ESPN Plus will continue to be the home of all things USL, and at least 19 games a year will be featured on the ESPN family of networks, including 9 games on ESPN Deportes. Continue to follow, support, and watch your club on ESPN and ESPN Plus.
Yeah, ESPN Plus, the best value in sports, no doubt. I sometimes just find myself turning on saying I want to watch some soccer, and almost every time you turn on there, whether it's college soccer or even European soccer, they've got some great games on there and leagues on ESPN Plus. So $4.95 a month, can't beat it.
Yeah, the expansion of coverage of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup earlier this summer as well, along with all the USL League One and Championship action. And you tune into 4 more matchups here in League One coming up the rest of the weekend, 3 tomorrow and 1 on Sunday. As Toronto going down the far side. Petrasso can't keep it. Foul is called as Pollock brought down. Toronto man on the far side, as it will be a free kick again for the away side. Okello left side. Here's Muhammad, the left back, sizing it up. He'll whip it in. Pollock the header once more. Muhammad trying to spur things the other way. Looks up. As Pollock to his left, he'll go there to the left back. Centrally, saw the quick turn but loses it. We're hearing that his number will be called on the next sub for Greenville as Dominic Bolin gets set to come on.
It's an interesting substitution. I thought perhaps Greenville would continue to put the pressure on, but bring Don Bolin Clampe in the midfield. I'm not sure where he really slots in, bringing Cameron Saul off. Perhaps more of a 4-5-1 situation.
Well, that gives me the inclination that John Harkes is maybe toying with the formation a bit compared to where we started. You look at Muhammad and Boland on the wings as true wingers for this squad. Maybe we're looking at more of that Greenville look from the beginning of the season, taking a step back more with the defense and try those counterattacks down the wings, and balls in the Donnelly.
Yeah, we'll see where he slots in once he gets on the pitch here in a minute. Next stoppage of play.
Leon back. But you make a good point, Ross. There was a point this season where people would say, what's going on if Boland's coming in for Saul? Are we locking down the game in the final 20 minutes? And now it's that argument, oh, is he playing more as a winger or in the back line at bolstering that defensive force?
Perhaps just some fresh legs in the midfield.
Muhammad. Left side. Down the field, tipped up by Polak. Knocked on, almost a giveaway at the back, might still be. No foul, says Alyssa Nichols as Faria goes down in a heap. Okello looking for some help. Perusa open in the midfield, he'll have to give it off. Muhammad. Back to the left side, strikes it, can't find the back post. It may have clipped it as well, but skirts the frame, and it's a goal kick for Jay.
Oh, lovely 1-2 there between Tariq Muhammad and Jordan Perusa. And that shot wasn't far off.
Here's the substitution we just mentioned. Cameron Saul coming off for Dominic Boland. And here's a look at where we started in the second half.
Lovely slip ball through, and Cameron Saul with a calm and composed finish with his right foot.
Sliding it on by Patterson Sewell on the 1v1. Cameron Saul finding his second of the season. And we saw about 2 minutes later how important that goal was as a quote-unquote insurance tally, as Toronto quickly answered on a set-piece header by Ramos Mingo. It's Dominic Boland coming on, and he'll fill in to a right-wing spot at this point in the match. Jay will pick it up. It looks like, at least for now, that Seiler is staying at right back, so that tells you that Boland will be further up the field. Pass Boland. Muhammad now going after it. These two getting in some good battles in the previous two matchups.
One thing bringing Boland onto that right midfield spot will put a little more responsibility on Tariq Muhammad and perhaps not allow him to get as far forward as he has been. We just saw him in the box with a nice shot. I think this will put a little more defensive responsibility on his shoulders.
A heave downfield by Walker. He'll find J.J. Donnelly on the run. Donnelly cuts it back over. No one there. Boland back post, but Muhammad knocks it out. Another corner kick for Greenville. This will be number 7, first of the second half.
Exactly what I talked about right there. That was almost predicted that. Don Boland almost with a major impact in his first minute on the field, but Tariq Muhammad back there to clean it up.
Boland has 1 goal this season. It came against Toronto, first matchup up in Ontario earlier this season. Gomez will take this corner kick as he has throughout the match. Waiting on the whistle from Alyssa Nichols. Here in minute 74, 2-1 to the Triumph. Gomez whips it in, headed up, but out of play, and that was off J.J. Donnelly as a shot. It's a goal kick for Patterson Sewell. Toronto keeper lining this up in minute 74. You take a look at the Triumph car on the side. Couldn't be out last week due to the weather delays out there. Joe Irwin not needing any damage to that car, and back out there though on a beautiful night here for Triumph Soccer in Greenville. Okello, he'll whip it to the far side, right flank. Polak heads it on. He'll trickle out of play into the Greenville bench, and a throw in for West and Toronto. Clouds got us going in the first half with a strike from the top of the box. Saul on the breakaway in the second half, followed by the header from Ramos Mingo off the free kick on the right flank. Since then, been deadlocked, chances for both sides, but none giving way. As Toronto's used all 3 of their substitutions, Triumph just using 2 to this point.
You mentioned earlier, Chris, this 3 points could be crucial, especially given a little more relaxing trip to Tucson. That's for sure. If they take a point out of that, I'm sure they'd be glad, especially if some of the results go their way this weekend. You don't really want to go to Tucson. I obviously won't be going in needing 3 points, but depending on the results this weekend,
So
3 points here would be huge.
Not only is Toronto FC 2 good in the second half at scoring, especially the final 15. Look at that, 13 goals. Them and North Texas are leading League One in that category. It's been surefire to get some draws, some last-minute results for Toronto this season. It's kept them in so many matches as Nelson tries to handle this down.
Good pressure by Don Boland, forcing the youngster backwards. John Harkes will see it. Want to see these guys in white going back towards their keeper. Good pressure again by Omar Mohamed. Toronto gets out of it, though.
Maybe Greenville caught up the field, though, here as Toronto moves down the far flank. Okello's wide open. That option closes off. Near side, there's Mohamed moving the troops downfield. Nelson. Through the traffic. Petrasso knocks it on. Okello, past Mohamed. Toronto just trying to find the right lane at this point. Mohamed loses it.
As quiet as a night as Jordan Peruz has had, you have to figure he's going to have some kind of half chance here in this last 14 minutes. You think it's going to pop up at some point. They're just going to have to make sure it's just a half chance and not a quality one.
Third offside to the match for Toronto. They've had 3 in the second half. None for Greenville after having 5 in the first half, so a switching of roles really between these two sides in the second 45. Who's up, who's down, where does your club sit? Find out every Monday in the official USL League One Power Rankings, only on USLLeague1.com. Jay sends us down the field. A beautiful night here in the upstate of South Carolina. Knocking it on, Gomez into the box, but knocked out. And offsides, and as if on cue after I mentioned it on the air, there's an offsides for Greenville.
Jinxed that one.
Sure did.
Close one, though. Either way, a nice covering tackle once again tonight by Buck Anderson. He's been huge at the back for Toronto, stifling out some of these Greenville chances.
He's a quiet force on this strong squad. He reminds me a bit of Kyle Venter over at FC Tucson. 2 center backs that can get up the field, know how to use their body, their heads on the offensive end, but can get those last-minute stops as well with their big bodies at the back. But quiet forces on teams that like to score, of course, this season. Seiler. Off of Mohamed. Met by Nelson. Back and forth we go into minute 78. Okello. Try out the right flank now. That's where Faria is. Ball swept in. No one there at the back post at least. And Jay able to let this go harmlessly out of play.
Yeah, Peruzzo was making the front post run, but the ball was just a little over his head. Dallas Jay won't get the shutout tonight, but still continues to lead that Golden Gloves race, obviously.
Still only 16 goals allowed this season for the Triumph as a player is down, and it is Paul Clowes once again, and that's a worry considering he was down in the first half as well. This may spur on the substitution. We'll see how things change out there for Greenville.
I was watching Paul Clowes just making his way back on that last Toronto push, and he wasn't running particularly well. So he's clearly got something here lingering from that earlier injury he picked up. Hopefully it's nothing too serious.
I'm not sure how you formulate this switch if you're John Harkes as well. You have Cole Seiler out there, so you keep in mind there is the option to bring Boland to the back line as a right back, put Seiler in Clowes' place. But also you could do Sammy Gadiri up the field. You have Robinson, who could be a winger. He could really totally change the look of this formation at this moment with this potential injury.
Yeah, I think the Boland move to the fullback position and moving Seiler into the DM spot would make the most sense, but we'll see what Harkes does.
Sammy Gadiri still on the bench along with Edmundo Robinson, Travis Ward. In terms of options to fill that role.
Yeah, Kevin Paulus doesn't look to have suffered any repercussions from that injury he had in training this week. John Harkes was concerned he wasn't going to play tonight. We saw him in warm-ups doing some drills and obviously cleared to go, and he's looked okay tonight.
Paul Clowes walking off under his own power, always a good sign here in the 80th minute. Reminder, a win today for Greenville means they're 4 points clear of Madison. They had a match in hand over the Flamingos entering today. And it would be just 5 back of Lansing, still with a match in hand over the side from Michigan. It looks like Clowes is going to give it a go, at least for now. Dallas J in front of the Reedy River Riot, looking to hold on to the 3 points here today. Minute 81, 2-1 to the Triumph. Knocked on by Nelson. Batted back down the other way. Donnelly with the hold-up play, trying to keep it. Out of play, though. A foul is called, so we'll bring it back. And offsides again called in this match. Now a combined 10 between the squads. Now we'll restart, and Clouds will be back on. So maybe at least giving a few more moments for a warm-up for a sub, or good to go here. Went down 2 times so far in this match.
He's now on defense. He still appears to be limping a little bit, but I'm sure John Hawks would like to see him go these final 10 minutes.
Muhammad, haven't seen much from him and since he came on. Flicked on and through, but cleared by Muhammad. Walker. Polak. Ball sent ahead, but no one is there as Romeo chooses not to let that go on and through. He moved it on over and up the field for Toronto. Ball continues to play. Polak is down, holding the right side of his face. Took some contact as both players went down. Seiler up the right flank. Boland on the run, can't keep it in, but it's a throw-in on the near side.
Don Boland had a chance to keep that one in. Maybe wanted to take some time off the clock instead.
Walker. Klaus over to Polak, who's back on his feet. Lee almost getting it intercepted by Perusa, who has had a quiet night, as you pointed out before, Ross. Ball sent in. Good look. Donnelly just passed him. And offsides again here tonight. Number 8 now on the Triumph.
JJ Donnelly's just got to get a little better with his positioning. It would have been a beautiful through ball, and he didn't even need to be offside. He had so much room. Just got to be a little more aware.
Would have been racing after that one against Patterson Sewell. Donnelly has been so close, and now his 4th match with Greenville. He hit the post at Madison on August 28th, but has yet to find the back of the net. The tormented 2 striker. Polak will take the throw in quickly to Muhammad. Muhammad racing the other way. Cuts it back. Good look. Shot coming. And then Carlos Gomez, his 4th in 2 matches. And does that seal the deal on the 3 points for the Triumph?
Yeah, lovely quick throw by Tyler Polak to find Omar Mohamed down that left wing, and a good pullback cross. And Carlos Gomez just can't seem to miss, whether it's with the assist like this one or with no assist like last week, and just finding the open spots. And Spaniard's on fire right now.
Carlos Gomez, the Spaniard, knocking one on and in on the service by Muhammad. This is what Muhammad does so well, stretching the left flank and finding the top of the box.
Yeah, Toronto defense just fell asleep for a little bit, and it's just pure pace by Muhammad, and they just got these runners coming in. There was plenty of people back for Toronto. They had 5 guys back, and I feel like Patterson Sewell perhaps shouldn't be getting beaten like that at his near post, but it was a well-struck ball by Carlos Gomez, and right in the bottom corner.
Well, along with the number 10 there, you see there in the replay, Walker would have been wide open too. So either way, you have 2 great scoring options that were leading the team once Keegan was put on the injured list in terms of goals. And now Gomez, just like that, up to 6 on the season. Muhammad will get the assist on that one. He's at 2 now on the campaign.
Yeah, just not the first disappointing defensive performance by Toronto. They just sort of fell asleep. They had a couple of chances tonight with Greenville and those cutback crosses that Toronto have kind of forgotten about the midfield runners. Cost them there dearly.
Still time for Toronto. They answered just after the 2nd Triumph goal of the match. We'll see if they can answer here. Perusa goes down against Lee. No foul, says Alyssa Nichols. Muhammad the other way against West. Pokes it on through. Tight spot, and this will be whipped down towards the box. Veteran move there by Seiler, chesting it on towards Jay, who will burn some time here in the 85th, ticking into the 86th. Greenville, talk about this. Now 7 goals in the last 2 home matches. Really a fortress here. And they have one more left to go here at Legacy Early College next week against Orlando City B.
Yeah, everybody's kind of been focusing on how hot Lansing have been playing and obviously scoring a ton of goals, but Greenville is sneakily also having one of the better final thirds of the season.
Seiler lofts it. Donnelly on the run, goes down, but Romeo will clear it. It's a throw-in on the far side. Donnelly drew a PK last week, but not getting one there as Romeo handled the situation very well.
Especially Greenville have had to really win all these matches they've won because it's been so tight behind them, and these other teams have fallen away a little bit. Tormenta and Tucson not picking up points over the last few weeks, but Greenville have quietly been definitely one of the top 3 sides in the second half of the season.
Muhammad, Pollock, knocked it on through. Tyler Pollock on the run, end line, cuts it back, but Muhammad wasn't there. Somehow it stays in play. Offsides, the flag went up somehow, some way in those final 6 inches, and that will be number 9 of this match on the Triumph.
So they're going to get to double digits in some stat. It's going to be offside apparently.
This will be restarted here in minute 87. Toronto schedule ahead, their final home match against Tormenta next week, then a midweek battle at City Stadium against the Richmond Kickers. They'll finish off at David Stanton Field against the Chattanooga Red Wolves, as you see Sammy Gadiri getting set to come on in this match. Bunk Anderson trying to get Toronto back into this thing. And we talked about it in the open, Ross. Would Greenville continue this consistent play? They have so far. Toronto's main chance of the night has been that goal. They only have 2 shots on target compared to 6 for the Triumph.
And when Keegan and Hemmings went down, we were all a little concerned about where the goals would come from and how this team would really respond. And they've done it in fine fashion. It kind of just takes the character of John Hart's Captain America, come together as a team and really pulled these last 2 wins nicely.
Over the top, Donnelly on the run, so is Patterson. Sewell, a header, open net. Muhammad has a go, a wishful one. It'll fall to Donnelly.
He'll claim that was a pass, I'm sure.
Donnelly through the traffic, still going. Donnelly stopped by Patterson. Sewell, it's still alive. And now Muhammad and Toronto finally getting out of their end.
Great work there by JJ Donnelly on some tired legs, no doubt. We might see him come off here in a minute for Sammy Gadiri.
Ball set in, but over everyone. This will curl out of play. It's a goal kick coming for the Triumph. No, it barely stayed in play on the near side. Nelson somehow got to it. Seiler, cut back. A good move there by the former Sacramento man.
Coming into this one, Greenville's chances of making the playoffs for something in the mid-90s now. It's going to have to go up. You think after this victory, it could go up even more tomorrow if they get some help.
Throwing on the near side for the Triumph, and this will pause enough for the final substitution of the match. Sammy Gadiri will come on. And there goes JJ Donnelly. Again, not finding his way onto the stat sheet, but contributing in other ways. His hold-up play and his ability to pass off to his teammates, he's really added to this attack for the Triumph.
No, JJ Donnelly does a lot of good work that goes unseen off the ball, making good runs, drawing defenders with him. Sammy Gadiri get a late run here for a few minutes. The interesting thing to see is who would you rather play in the playoffs right now, Lansing or North Texas? Lansing on that rather questionable home field of theirs, or Houston, North Texas on that expansive field. I think would suit Greenville. Obviously had a very nice victory there early in the season.
And 2 teams, the Triumph, have done well, considerably well, against this season as Romeo moves it on back. They have 1 win, 2 draws against Lansing, and they're 1-1-1 against North Texas, which any team would love that record against North Texas in 3 matchups this season.
No, for sure. Obviously, that 4-0 victory out there was a special one earlier this season.
Again, Greenville, you could tune in on ESPN Plus, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, the start against FC Tucson. And if you want to fly out for the match, we're hearing it's Dollar Taco Night for FC Tucson, trying to replicate the success of their affiliated club in the organization, Phoenix Rising, who are at 20 straight wins this season. Tormenta and Toronto will meet the Friday matinee in USL League One, as Toronto still tries by the slimmest of margins make that Cinderella run, but Tormenta as well still locked into their own winless streak. They're trying to break through. They have Lansing coming up tomorrow on ESPN+.
Yeah, I think after this loss, you could pretty much put a fork in Toronto. Tormenta do still have a bit of hope, as well as Tucson, but could be becoming more of a 6-horse race, 7-horse race.
Walker will cycle it around the back. Speaking of Cole Seiler before the Anderson native, one player, a native of Anderson, being signed. The first 2 Youth Academy contracts in team history for Greenville, and Ben Erkins and Connor Dower being signed, both local high school players, looking one to play at Clemson and Furman, but a great path to pro really in the state of South Carolina, and Greenville trying to expand those roots, give them that professional feel. And John Hark's telling us that the college coaches are all for it. They love it, especially when they get to see those men play for them coming up next year.
Yeah, no, what a great experience for the kids, even just to practice with the professionals, really gauge where their skills are at and where they need to improve. And awesome opportunity, especially for the local kids.
Both coming from the CISA Academy, the Carolina Elite Soccer Academy. As Akello takes it into the midfield. 4 minutes of stoppage time. We're about 2 into it, as Nelson will take it on to the left side. Nelson still whips it on and in, but through the box, and this will be kept in play barely by Faria. Good move there from the winger. Still Faria deflected, up and out of play. A late corner kick here for Toronto, and that is in fact their first of the match.
Yeah, good work by Faria, especially in the injury time minutes, to slide and keep that ball in, but then he almost turned Tyler Pollock inside out, but the veteran managed to stand his ground, and it was not from nowhere.
Wishful one whipped in from the far side on the corner kick, trying to be Ziguro with Chattanooga last week. Goal on a corner kick straight on, and Jay will have a goal kick though as they burn off the final few seconds here. Another confident showing by Greenville, and despite some Toronto surge in the second half, they were able to get back on top with that late goal.
Yeah, possession pretty equal. It's been a trademark performance though by Greenville, as they have over the last couple of months. Just get that early goal now, and then just hold on. Obviously, get the second goal was the key one. And just limit the other team to only minor opportunities, which is really all these guys have had tonight from Toronto. It's Tucson the same last week.
Foul is called. Be brought back. As the final few seconds tick off here. Greenville looking at win number 7 at home. They'll improve to an overall record at home of 7-3-3. This will be win number 11 on the season, and that's a very important thing to keep an eye on when you're looking at the table. Wins the first tiebreaker, goal differential the second. But with these last 2 results, +6 for Greenville, they're looking pretty in the goal differential category.
Once again, second place, not out of sight yet for Greenville. They would obviously need some help, especially from Tormenta this weekend.
And Lansing still has a very tough matchup coming up against Madison. All they have left are 2 matchups. Tormenta tomorrow, and then Madison the final weekend. Well, this puts a lot of pressure on Tucson to get a result against Richmond, as Greenville leaves with the full 3 points, looking to maybe clinch a playoff spot next week, depending on the result in Tucson. As John Harks and his squad, a second straight match with at least 3 goals. And you see that they are so important. The third team to reach 40 points, and we're in week 26 of the season.
Yeah, another step closer to clinching that playoff spot now. Getting a short turnaround to Tucson on Tuesday, but even a point there would take him very close to clinching.
Spreading the scoring as well. They got the early goal from Clouds, then Saul right there on your screen, adding another out of halftime. Toronto getting one back, but it was Greenville with the final say. The late insurance tally by Gomez, his 6th of the year. And Greenville, another good result against Toronto this season. 7 points off of the side from Ontario. And Greenville looking pretty in 3rd place at 40 points. as they move on towards week 27, Tuesday against Tucson. Coming up, we take you through the highlights from tonight and stats, of course, from Legacy Early College 3-1 to the Triumph.
Join Finn's Top Wash Club for unlimited monthly washes at one low price. Finn's Car Wash, proudly created by AAA.
Play will continue. Keegan back across, it's in! Greenville on the board at home, it's 1-1.
So with all the games and the trainings that we have in this lovely South Carolina weather, recovery is obviously very important for us in order to be able to perform on the weekends. And we do a lot of different things as players in order to recover properly. A big thing that we do is we go to Upstate Spine and Sport with Dr. J and his assistants, and they do a great job for us. They do some chiro work, they do some cupping, they'll do stretching, they'll do massage, they'll do a lot of different things for us, and we go there Tuesday every week, and additionally if we need it before the game. And I think it's great for us in order to kind of get through the week of training, because it can be difficult, we push ourselves hard, and then to be rested and ready to go by the weekend.
It's only fitting that a city that has so successfully triumphed has a team that honors that.
Welcome back here into Legacy Early College. The Reedy River Riot up in celebration here on Hispanic Heritage Night. 3-1 the victory for the Triumph, looking as good as they did against Tucson last week and moving into a solid spot in third place at 40 points, 4 above. The Flamingos just on their heels as we continue week 26. But we'll start by taking a look at our first match, the highlights here from tonight in Greenville, South Carolina. All Triumph in the first half. It wasn't until the second half that Toronto really started going.
Yeah, first goal, lovely hold-up play here by Evan Lee. Knocks it back to Paul Klaus with the outside of his right foot and a quality strike past Patterson Sewell. It was Hispanic Heritage Night, but it was the Englishman to get the first 2 goals.
Yeah, Klaus striking right on through this one. Patterson Sewell getting a touch, but not enough to stop his first goal in a Triumph uniform. Reedy River Riot will continue celebrating on into the night, as it was a bad pass at the back, allowing Saul to be on the run.
Paul Klaus with the assist on this one. Cameron Saul in with a nice run. Nice common post finish past Patterson Sewell in his far post.
2-0 to the Triumph. They were off and running, but Toronto, a minute later, ready to pounce as they would win the set piece here. And Lee, an unusual foul there for him, getting the card and allowing the chance to come.
It really was an unnecessary foul because Tyler Pollett was over there covering, but a nice finish by Ramos Mingo in the near post.
Right on by Lee as well, but Triumph would continue fighting, Toronto as well, as they would quickly take the next opportunity down the left flank of Muhammad. You can't give him this much room to run.
Yeah, Muhammad picks up the ball at the halfway line here. It was almost a 40-yard run and a nice pullback pass to Gomez, and finished by the Spaniard on Hispanic Heritage Night.
Beautiful touch there, his 4th in 2 matches after his hat trick last week. And Carlos Gomez and Greenville often celebrating a 3-1 victory, and really everything in favor of the Triumph that is outside of the offside.
Yeah, shots on target 7-2. That's how Greenville have been doing things lately in those 15 shots. Keep racking up the shots with Greenville and limiting the opponents.
The Statement win tonight, 7 goals in the last 2. A look at the updated standings. Greenville at 40 points. A little bit of breathing room from the pack as Madison, Tormenta, Chattanooga, and the rest of the gang do battle headed into tomorrow and Sunday.
Yeah, if Tormenta and Chattanooga don't get points, don't get results this weekend, that would really put Greenville in the driving seat.
A huge match for Tucson, looking to put pressure on the pack, and that's a key match to keep an eye on if Greenville can potentially clinch a playoff spot coming up on Tuesday in Tucson. Tucson battling Richmond, of course, 10:30 Eastern Time tomorrow night on ESPN Plus, and 3 more matchups to finish off your weekend in League One, all with playoff implications as it has been the entire season. Well, the Triumph, they answered our questions here today. Another big offensive performance. They win 3-1, their 2nd straight home victory in these 2 weeks. and they are often running towards a third-place spot here in the table, putting pressure on Lansing. Thank you to our entire crew alongside me, Ross Davenport. I'm Chris McCovic. We'll see you next time, and stay tuned for more League One action this weekend on ESPN+.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League League One cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League League One.